Hi, it's Christina Myers, host of The Stina Life. As we enter a new year, we set our sights on our human experience and how we can embody the highest version of ourselves and be a beacon of light for other people as we continue to shift into a higher state of consciousness. I'll also touch upon the ascension process and give an update on what we are currently seeing and experiencing. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast and a very happy 2024 to you all. I hope that your new year is starting off on a great note and you have set your intentions to make it the best year yet. Well, we have certainly started out with a bang, haven't we? On New Year's Day, we had one of the biggest X-class solar flares lift off the sun and head our way. This has caused solar winds and other major energetic shifts. I know that we have been feeling either wired or extremely tired and a lot of irritability and body pains and shifts. So I can always tell when the energy and a major upgrade has come in because my whole system is basically trying to rewire itself and move through this. So there's a lot going on within the energies itself. And then, of course, there's this major earthquake that occurred and subsequent tsunami that hit Japan. I know California had one as well. It was more a mini earthquake, but there's lots of mini earthquakes happening around the world. And I just saw Iceland is now poised for some more activity. And then there was that horrific plane crash that happened in Japan. And thank goodness that everyone that was on those planes made it out alive. It's a miracle. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and I am sending big love across the globe to everybody who is impacted by these shifts. And, you know, this is just the first few days of the year. And as I had mentioned, things are going to move very fast and furious, and the amount of shifts within the Earth is going to change the dynamics of the planet dramatically this year. Not only earthquakes, we'll see an increase there because the Earth is terraforming, but also we can expect to see more water events as well as we move through the year. I always say this is why having a personal practice where you can stay centered and focused is so very important, because the outside noise, the outside events can easily overtake us. It can overtake your mind. It can wreak havoc on your energy field. And just trying to navigate the energetic shifts alone through this ascension process that we're going through can be trying enough. Let's just say that. So if you combine that with just outside world events, we're going to have a lot of things heading us. And so important to stay grounded, to stay centered, to have something in place that can help you stay in that mindset is really important. Also, one more thing to note before we dive into another topic is around the ascension process itself. It looks like we have received a very significant timeline split on the Schumann resonance on January 3rd. We've all been experiencing these many timeline shifts, both collectively and individually, but this one seems to be pretty significant. And I've been listening to a few people who really follow the Schumann resonance and follow the timeline splits. And it feels to them, and I think to me as well, that this one is more of a significant shift between the third dimensional and the fifth dimensional realms. And as I've been mentioning on this podcast, and I want to emphasize this is my perspective on all of this. So this may not align to everybody, and it may not align to what you personally are experiencing or receiving. So please take what resonates and leave what does not. It's really important that we all use discernment on what feels good to you, because all of us are having our own unique experience and we are all receiving our own information. And depending on what journey you're on, the information or the understanding might be very different than what I present, and that's okay. There's not one person on this planet that has all of the answers, but there are enough people on this planet that are receiving similar information that can assist with this collective shift. So that's what we're all here for. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't. So on August 31st, we had the portal to 5D open. And this started the process of making these timeline shifts become more significant. We had to take care of a lot of shadow energies. We had to remove a lot of darker beings off the planet so we could start to open that portal up. And from that point forward, we have been making significant progress splitting into these two different places of consciousness. There are those who have contracted to stay within the third dimensional realm, and that is where they're going to finish out their contracts. For them, the outer world experience is going to be pretty significant because they're tied into this reality. And as I've been talking about the astrology, there could be a lot of breakdowns of systems, of more activity as it relates to, natural disasters, things like that. So this could feel very much like a volatility, out of control. There's a lot of things that can happen within this reality. Then there are those who are choosing to move into this higher state of consciousness. And what I am being shown is that I see that there's a couple of different groups or pockets or timelines of how this is playing out. The first group is what I call the first waivers, and that is those folks that are going to be the first ones to move fully into 5D or New Earth, Blessed Gaia, some people call it Blessed Gaia. And that's the group that's there to go get everything set up, everything in place for those others who are coming into the fifth dimensional consciousness, but have some other things to take care of first. I like to call this a return to home, a return to Lemuria. Many of you were part of Lemuria to begin with, and so this is feeling to me very much like a return back to Lemuria. This is about the full embodiment of fifth dimension and above consciousness. So there's lots of things that are very transformational and different than the reality that we are in right now. Then there's a second group that I'm seeing that is consisting of everyone who has contracted to move into 5D, but still has some work left to do to fully embody this energy. There will be a lot of starseed light workers that are going to stay within the second group, and they are here to assist those who are awakening and need assistance to move through this process. And once they achieved their enlightened state, they will then move into the New Earth or Blessed Gaia. And then there's a final group, and it's those that have a lot more work to do. This may take them years to get through this process, but hopefully life will feel a little bit easier than it has in the past, because as they shift into that fifth dimension timeline, those fifth dimensional qualities will be available. So again, there will be light workers that will stay behind to assist those in helping them move through this transition process. And then once all of those groups have completed their ascension work, then the full shift into the New Earth will be available to those that are on that timeline. Also, just a note about New Earth. It's not just humans who are occupying the space. And that is going to require a lot of work for many of the folks who are on the 5D timeline to be comfortable with this, because there's a lot of things that are very much not in the consciousness or the awareness of our current systems, our current realm of possibility. And when we move into this higher state of consciousness, anything and everything is possible, including being able to interact with other beings and have that experience. So again, it's going to take some adjusting and moving through, and depending on how much work needs to be done, that will determine the timeline for transition. For many of you, including myself, it has been a bit of a challenge trying to navigate between this third and fifth dimension. And it's been interesting because I think there has been a very conscious understanding that we are living two different lives. In one hand, we're living and experiencing all these day-to-day experiences that we're used to in the third dimension, work and paying bills and going to school and all the things and raising kids. And then, there's this other thing that's going on, which is this higher state of consciousness and this feeling of not being tied to this timeline anymore or having this experience. So you feel very out of sorts, out of body. It's a very interesting time to be here and to experience this. There's a lot of you I know, because I have been feeling this way, that we're just a little bit tired of being in our human body, our human experience, this earth experience. We've been here many, many times. We have been here to carry out some big missions and big work for the collective, to get us to a place where we can transition into these timelines, these new timelines. It's been a huge job, and in many ways, it's very exhausting to navigate through this. So, you can feel out of place. You can have very few people understand who you are. Even when you think that you have found people who understand it, you realize that not all of them are fully aligned with, your same understanding. And that's okay. It's just, Spirit has come in and really cleared the deck this year. So there's been a big shifting of people in your life, because it's truly about aligning with those who are really, truly aligned to the same path that you are on right now. This can be lonely. It can be a very lonely experience. You can feel homesickness to a place that is out there and is home to you. You can miss what you feel is your family, but it's not your human family, and it's hard to explain that. It's a strange feeling to have that knowing. This last year, I was working with a practitioner who is very skilled in galactic work, and during our first session, we traveled to my home, my origin, to see my family. And for weeks, really months after that, I was sad, and I really did not want to stay in this human experience. And I had to pull myself together and remember my mission to get back to work. And it was both a blessing and a little bit of a curse to have that experience, because it awakened within me this realization as to why I have felt in many ways very lonely through my life, and really misunderstood in most cases. Not so much lonely, but at times, but definitely misunderstood in this life, and just feel awkward about being in human experiences sometimes. And it's hard to comprehend. It's a hard thing to kind of get your mind wrapped around. But with this timeline shift, I feel more hopeful that those of us who have come here to assist at this time will start feeling more at home and finding those that understand you and the way you feel. And there are a huge number of people, actually not a huge number of people, I should rephrase that. There's not a huge number of people on this planet who carry that within them. And we are all very strategically placed around the globe to do the work that we were sent here to do. And a lot of that is simply being able to hold this higher vibration, this light, and embody that within us, and this energy that can inspire and activate and help others. We don't always fully understand the why behind our mission or our purpose, but we know in our soul that we are here for a reason and a purpose. And as long as we stay focused on that, we can find hope to navigate through the day-to-day, even when it's challenging and even when we're a little tired of being here and doing it. As I have entered into this new year, I have been very intentional about setting my intentions for this year. And for the last few years, I've always set an intention for where I want to focus my energy. I'm not so much focused on doing things or having specific outcomes or achieving a very specific thing. My intentions are always much broader. And it was funny because as I was writing out intentions for this year, in the same notebook where I was writing those, I had happened to flip back and there was my intentions for 2023. And I hadn't looked at those really since I had written those intentions out. And I was absolutely blown away by what I had set for myself and how really almost all of it came to fruition. Not exactly the way I had envisioned it, but Spirit kind of takes you on a journey that's best for you to learn and to grow and to achieve those things that you set out for yourself. But that's not really the point. The point isn't about the how to get there. The point is about, okay, this is the intention and I want to go there, and then, buckle the seatbelt and experience the experience that gets you there, right? So as I was thinking about 2024 and where I was at in my journey, what had happened in 2023, relooking at what I had set for last year. And I wanted to ensure that whatever I set my focus on this year, it would be first and foremost about an even greater purpose, a deepening of knowing myself, but more importantly, how can I serve the collective? How can I serve others? How can I do things that are for the good of the global community, for the universe, for our highest selves in love? How can I do that? And I started to think deeper about what that means to be fully embodied and how that embodiment is able to transcend beyond the limitations of this time and this space, which in some ways keeps us feeling confined or restricted. When we come in to any incarnation, we come in through our soul body. And our soul body is you. It's the nucleus of who you are. And that soul travels with you through time and through space. I always equate the soul to a wheel on a bicycle. You have that center component that is attached to the bike frame, and then you have all the spokes that come off that centerpiece. And so the centerpiece is your soul, and it holds all of your lifetimes, it holds all the records from your lifetime, it holds all of your knowledge, your experience. And then the spokes that come off of that are all of the embodiments in which you've had all these lifetimes of experiences. And that holds that information and transmutes that back to that centerpiece. And much of what we do, especially in this human experience, is we spend our time trying to figure out who we are. Why are we here? What is our purpose? And once we figure that piece out, once we understand who we are, once we understand ourselves from the soul level, once we remember, that's when we become free. And it's when we can fully embrace and embody that within our human form. When we decide what it is that we came here to do, what we want to do in a human form, what we've contracted to do. When you come in, you choose everything. You choose your meat suit, you choose your experiences, you choose your family of origin, you choose the location you want to reside, all of it. And our job when we come into an experience, an embodied experience, is to remember who we are beyond the contract, who we are at the soul level. And when we understand this, we literally can break free from the limitations of the human mind and the human body and the emotional body. And what we do is we begin to understand everything from the higher perspective, from the soul level. And that's when we can move into the state of freedom. And that is true freedom. You have literally no limitations at that point when you can break free and return back to the soul level. A few days ago, I was meeting with one of my soul sisters, and we were talking about how we were feeling, because we're very much aligned to this feeling of being tired of this earth experience. And we were exchanging notes on what we were seeing and what we were experiencing. And the biggest thing that we have noticed is that we both feel very much at peace. And the word freedom came up because both of us do truly feel free. And not just a little bit, like really free. And it was great to understand this from her perspective, because we both are seeing things from that higher soul level. We have really released from that humanness, that feeling as though we are locked into something and have that subconscious programming always running. That has really turned off. And what that has done is it's created this space for flowing through this life in a different way and being really the true embodiment of infinite consciousness, of that Christ consciousness, of that oneness of love. Yes, we are still in a human experience. We're still in this world that is not built for that freedom, that is not built to look at things from this higher perspective. But it was intriguing to me to hear her speaking about this from her perspective, because it's definitely possible. And now I feel more than ever, because of these timeline shifts that have occurred, we are moving deeper into this experience of infinite possibilities, infinite consciousness, of oneness, of wholeness. And now what is really beautiful about coming into this understanding is that we are able to fully embody this frequency of unconditional love. And because we are able to embody this, we are able to radiate that frequency out to everyone we come in contact with. It's envisioning yourself as an eternal flame that radiates this beautiful light out as you live your everyday life. And that is the embodiment. The embodiment alone is enough. Your embodiment moves and shifts all that's around you and inspires those that hold that dormant remembrance of their soul's purpose and why they have come in and are embodied in a human form. And what we've realized too is that we both are moving through this life now without the heavy burdens. We have dropped those off. And in many ways, that is what being a light being or a light holder is all about. It's no longer holding on to the burdens. It's no longer holding on to the blocks. It's no longer holding on to the shadows within, where you have no choice but to be nothing else but pure light. And your essence and your aura and your embodiment is that pure love. So as I set my intentions for this year, it is truly about being the light, being the love, being the embodiment of that frequency, that unconditional Christ consciousness. And as I move and navigate through this world and in this embodiment, in this human form, it's how do I become and break through the human constructs to embody that frequency. And as I walk through life, anyone who comes and crosses my path, it's about how can I help them to awaken to their soul and remember who they are and what they are here to do. And all of that is about how do I do that to help others feel free. And I think that's what we are all being asked to do. For those of you that are on this path and feel aligned to this message, it is about how do you become the eternal flame? How do you grow your light even stronger and bigger every single day and embody that so you can be the beacon of light for others who are also on the path? Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please rate, review, leave a message, or share with others who may find it helpful. You can engage with me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Stina Life. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.